Welcome to the inaugural episode of Electric Space News, a new video series intended to assist the research and study of members of the electric universe community. We'll keep you up to date on all of the latest science discoveries relevant to the electric universe and plasma cosmology, and along the way direct your attention to a virtual library of available materials clarifying the underlying concepts of these paradigms. Here are the space news headlines we're focusing on today. Item number 1. As you already know if you follow space weather, on February 22nd, the sun erupted with the most powerful X-class solar flares seen in years, including one which was the largest seen since 2017. However, none of these titanic flares produced an accompanying CME, which of course would be capable of producing much more disruptive effects on Earth's technology. You may have also heard some speculation that these solar flares could have been connected to the nationwide outage that AT&T wireless customers experienced. However, yesterday, AT&T did in fact offer a public statement saying that the outage was caused by an error involved in a software update. Regardless, this is a great starting point for a much-needed discussion on the much larger question of our civilization's preparedness to cope with the potentially catastrophic effects of a CME directly striking the Earth. Now, as most viewers know, in 1859, the most intense geomagnetic storm in recorded history occurred in what is known as the Carrington event. The Carrington event is incredibly informative because if such a CME were to strike our planet today, the damage to the electrical power grid, as well as satellites, would dwarf the relatively minor disruptions that we're all accustomed to experiencing in the modern world. Now, I'm going to share with you a short video clip from an interview I did way back in 2013 with longtime contributor to the Thunderbolts project, Michael Armstrong, in a video entitled "Solar Outburst Could Wreck Civilization."
An event of the magnitude of the Carrington event would, in the blink of an eye, send us back to the Bronze Age. And here's why. The modern power grid, especially in the United States, and the grids are similar elsewhere, have power lines attached out overhead at distances crisscrossing nearly 200,000 miles. This grid acts as a giant antenna system which would easily pick up the electric currents induced by a geomagnetic solar storm. We've already experienced a sample of this when in 1989, Quebec experienced a power outage because of a CME. The Hydro-Quebec outage resulted from the linked malfunction of more than 15 discrete protective system operations. From the initial event to complete blackout, only 1.5 minutes elapsed. Hardly enough time to assess what was occurring, let alone to intervene. The U.S. electrical system includes over 6,000 generating units, more than 500,000 miles of bulk transmission lines, approximately 12,000 major substations, and innumerable lower voltage distribution transformers. All of these can serve as potential geomagnetic-induced current entry points.
So in the video description box, you will find the link to this full interview, as well as references and show notes for our discussion today. Item number 2. NASA's New Horizons mission has discovered a, quote, surprising amount of interplanetary dust extending much further into the outer reaches of the Kuiper Belt than scientists had expected. A quick quote from a Science Alert headline on the topic. There may be a lot more than we thought to the belt of icy debris that circles the outer solar system. Data from the New Horizons probe as it sails serenely through the Kuiper Belt hints at unexpected levels of particles where dust ought to be thinning out, suggesting the donut-shaped field extends significantly farther from the Sun than previous estimates suggest. It's the most recent in a growing body of evidence that our understanding of the outer solar system is lacking, but could help us better understand our planetary system and others out there in the wider galaxy. On the question of the source of the unexpectedly large amount of dust in that region of space, the same report states, the most likely source of any extra dust would be interactions between larger objects, collisions for example. That means there needs to be enough icy rocks out there that they come together with relative frequency. Of course, I have to ask rhetorically, but what is the likelihood of objects mechanically colliding often enough in that vast volume of space to account for this surprising amount of dust in a region where, again, it was predicted to have, quote, thinned out in standard astronomy? Again, you can find links to several pertinent past discussions in the video description, including a lengthy series of interviews I conducted on the New Horizons mission to Pluto and into the Kuiper Belt. And our third and final item. This serves as a preview for what will be my next video presentation for the Thunderbolts project. From phys.org, Beyond What's Possible, New JWST Observations Unearth Mysterious Ancient Galaxy. The article states, our understanding of how galaxies form and the nature of dark matter could be completely upended after new observations of a stellar population bigger than the Milky Way from more than 11 billion years ago that should not exist. A paper published today in Nature details findings using new data from the James Webb Space Telescope. The results find that a massive galaxy in the early universe, observed 11.5 billion years ago, with a cosmic redshift of 3.2, has an extremely old population of stars formed much earlier, 1.5 billion years earlier in time, a redshift of around 11. The observation upends current modeling, as not enough dark matter has built up in sufficient concentrations to seed their formation. Whoa Nelly, folks. In the electric universe and plasma cosmology, there was no Big Bang, dark matter and dark energy do not exist, and cosmological redshift is not a reliable indicator of an object's distance from the observer on Earth. Plasma cosmologists performed experimental research many decades ago, showing that galaxies are an electromagnetic phenomena. Again, in the show notes in the video description box, you'll find multiple links to references that should help edify viewers' perspectives, whether you're a newcomer, a skeptic, or a longtime member of the EU community. So that's a wrap for the inaugural edition of this series. If you'd like to stay up to date on this exciting new journey, please hit subscribe to our channel, Fantastic Video Productions. I'll see you next time on Monday evening, February 26, 2024.